Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. For those of you that are new, my name is Austin. I'm a medical student and I'm here to share valuable advice to help all of you along your journey. In my first video, I talked about how to be successful in medical school. So today I want to talk about how to get accepted into medical school. Medicine is a long journey, but the first step is getting accepted into medical school. So after talking to a few classmates, physicians, and also drawing upon my own experiences, I'm here to bring you 5 key components to getting accepted into medical school. So let's do this. Alright, so let's start with some facts. Getting into medical school is hard. The national acceptance rate in 2019 was only 41%. So today we're going to hone in on 5 key components that I think are pivotal in beating those odds. The first thing will be the MCAT, the second is GPA, the third is research, the fourth is volunteering extracurricular activities, and the fifth is your diversity. So the first important component of your medical application is your MCAT score. The MCAT stands for the Medical College Admissions Test, and this is a beast of an exam. It's pretty much infamous across college campuses. So the MCAT is a 7.5-hour exam, and it's scored between a 472 to a 528. There are 4 main sections of the MCAT, the first being chemical and physical foundations, the second is critical analysis and reasoning, the third is biological and biochemical foundations, and the fourth is a psychology and sociology foundation section. Each of the 4 sections are scored between 118 and 132. The sum of those 4 individual sections will give you your composite score, which again is between 472 and 528. So these 4 sections of the MCAT really encompass 7 key subjects that you will take as an undergraduate pursuing medicine. This is because these prerequisites are required for most medical schools across the country, so you'll take them in your classes and they'll also be assessed on your MCAT. So these subjects are general chemistry, organic chemistry, biochemistry, biology, psychology, sociology, and physics. Now what I think is very helpful is actually to use outside prep material as you progress through your undergraduate courses. So after looking at a variety of different resources, I found Kaplan to be the best and the most comprehensive. What's nice about the Kaplan books is that they actually break down to 7 individual books based on the 7 subjects that I mentioned earlier, so it makes it really easy to follow along. So for example, let's say you're a first-year student and you're taking general biology or general chemistry, as many first-year pre-meds do. What I would do is I would use my MCAT biology book from Kaplan and go through that as I'm learning in class. So whatever you're learning, find the section that corresponds in your MCAT book and learn that as well. Not only will this help you excel in the classroom as an undergrad, it will also make sure that you're focused on the exact subject area that will be assessed on your MCAT. There will be significant overlap, which is nice, so it'll be easy to learn both at once, but when you're using MCAT prep material, you'll know exactly what you need to know. And a lot of times different schools have lectures that would go too much in depth in a certain topic or not cover another topic, so this is the best way to stay focused and just use your time most efficiently to prepare for the MCAT. I think what you'll discover is that the MCAT, although it's very comprehensive and there's a lot of subjects, they really want to hit hard on those key concepts in the very big picture. So while your classes might go into more minutia, the MCAT will be more of that big picture aspects, and you'll see that in the MCAT books. So that'll help you keep a long-term understanding and retain that knowledge for when you take your MCAT later down in the future. And if you're interested in using the same Kaplan material that I've been talking about, which is what I used when I was an undergrad as well, I would throw a link in the description for that. And even better, I have a referral program set up with Kaplan, so if you do use that link, you and I will both receive Amazon gift cards ranging from $10 to $100 depending on your purchase. So one step at a time, we'll be knocking off those debts and loans that come with being a medical student or pre-med student. So let's do it. Now in regards to timing, I think that about 6 months is ample time for preparation for the MCAT. I would stress the first 3 to 4 months to really be focused on getting to know the content and being familiar with what will be assessed on the MCAT. So they'll be going through those 7 books that I mentioned earlier and also just refreshing on all of your classes and seeing what's going to be on there in terms of material. The last 2 months or even 3 months, I would say, would be focused on practice questions. So the MCAT is a test, and the best way to get better at taking a test is to practice with other tests. So this is honestly the best way to prepare, because instead of reading over and over different content or material, a practice test allows you to apply higher level thinking and really engage with the material. So a lot of students, I think, get tripped up with always just reading over and highlighting or taking notes on a lot of the content, and they don't have enough time to actually apply the content. I think you'll notice that a lot of the little nitty-gritty details aren't as important as the big picture, and when you do practice problems, you get better at understanding and deciphering the questions, which will ultimately yield a higher score on the MCAT. Alright, so now that you're done with content review and you start moving into practice questions, I would start with using Kaplan or Princeton Review, because these testing companies tend to be a little bit more detailed than the actual MCAT, but that'll be good because it'll make sure that you truly understand and know all the concepts that you're supposed to know for the MCAT. Then when you're leading up to the exam, you really want to focus on the 4 available full-length practice tests that are created by the AAMC, which are also the creators of the MCAT. So these practice exams will be exactly the same format that you'll see on test day, and also they're the most representative in terms of what the MCAT would be like, both in terms of the structure of the website and the quality of the questions and what they're looking for. So once you take those 4 practice tests, you should have a very good understanding of how you'll do in the MCAT, and this is what makes those practice tests the best ones to do. So do those again when it gets closer to your test so you feel more comfortable with the material. My last piece of advice is about the timing of when to take the MCAT. And although this is more of a preference thing, it might not be applicable for everyone, because if you do take a gap year or you have a different circumstance, this might not be the same for you. But for me, since I was applying straight from college, this was the most ideal time, and it is to take the MCAT in January, because you'll have all of winter break to prepare and do practice questions, and then you'll have your score by February. This gives you about 4 months to prepare your application. So around spring break time, I was able to work on my personal statement, get letters of recommendation, and really get all my activities together for AMCAS. So as soon as that application service opens on May 1st, I was able to fill in all my information and submit my application as soon as the date opened on June 1st. So this is really advantageous, because when medical schools will look at your admissions, they'll look at the ones that were submitted first on June 1st as opposed to ones submitted later on, such as in August or September. And also what's beneficial about that is that you'll get more interviews early on in the cycle, because your admissions committee has already revealed your application. This is helpful because when there's more medical seats available early on in the cycle, that will improve your chances of getting admitted into medical school. Alright, so now we're on to GPA, and honestly there's not too much to say. As you might have guessed it, the higher GPA is, the better odds you'll have of getting accepted into medical school. But the average in 2019 overall GPA was just 3.73. I know that's really high, but just remember that there are people above that and people below that, and that's why you have that average. Something to consider is that when you're looking at your classes and picking your courses, don't just pick the ones that might be easy to boost your GPA, because medical school admissions will actually look at your GPA in terms of science GPA and non-science GPA. So they really want to check and see how you're performing in those science classes, because those do translate into better performance in medical school. So just keep that in mind. And of course, everyone wants to get a 4.0, everyone wants to get a great MCAT score, but all you can do is strive to do your best. And remember that college is so much more than just tests and scores. So, have a great time, have fun, and don't sacrifice on self-growth and just learning more about yourself. And I think that college is a great time to do and explore those things. Alright, so number 3 on the list is research. So simply put, research is working with the principal investigator. This is usually a professor, someone with their PhD or MD, and working on a project using the scientific method. So if you remember doing a science fair in 8th grade or something like that, it's pretty much the same thing, just a little bit on a higher level. Overall, research is a highly coveted experience, and admissions committees will love to see it. When you get medical school interviews, almost all the professors will ask you about your research in some way or another. So finding a topic that you're genuinely interested in and something that you can talk about will be really beneficial for you as you apply to medical school. Further, research will help develop your critical thinking skills, will help you work as a team, and it'll also be beneficial for you as a physician, because as you move on through medical school and even as a physician, you'll probably be exposed to research in some way or another, or be doing research throughout your career. So just having that early exposure, I think, is really important, and it'll also help you get admitted into medical school, which is the goal right now. As for publications and posters and abstracts, I would say that you don't really need to worry about that too much. I wouldn't overstress. Just being involved with research and having experience you can talk about in medical school interviews is really all you need at this point. If you maybe get a poster presentation or one abstract or so, that'll also be beneficial for you, but I don't think it's a deal breaker because most undergrads don't really get published at this time, and that's something you might look to do more as you get into medical school. Alright, now we're getting into the fun stuff. Number 4 is volunteering and extracurricular activities. So I think a lot of pre-med students will ask me how many hours they need to be volunteering in the hospital, how many hours I need to shadow a physician, or what can I do to be competitive. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's no set formula or exact number of hours that you need to do to get accepted into medical school. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have any volunteering or shadowing experience, but what I'm saying is that you don't need to spend all of your hours and all of your extracurricular time in the hospital. What admissions committees are really looking for is that you've developed an interest in the field of medicine, that you've been in a hospital, and you know what it's like to work around patients. So what I would recommend is maybe something long-term. So you can perhaps set up in a shadowing or volunteering in a hospital maybe once or twice a week. One day being shadowing, one day being volunteering, and that'll just give you exposure to medicine as a whole, and it'll show that sustained commitment over time. And you might even be able to get a letter of recommendation from the physician you work with, and just having them know you for 3 to 4 years across your undergraduate would be really helpful in terms of how that letter would turn out as well. Now for extracurricular activities, this is easy. You can actually do anything that you want. As long as you like it, you have a passion for it, and you can talk about it in your interviews and your applications. You know, after all, medical schools don't want someone that's just good MCAT, good GPA, and that's it. Because at the end of the day, that's not going to make a very good physician, and it's all about being well-rounded. So for me, I played a lot of intramural sports, I played guitar for my church, and I taught health education in high schools. So whatever you like to do, just go for it, and don't be afraid to try something new and see what you like. Just to give you a quick overview and something to consider as you are going through college and trying to figure out what to get involved in and what not to get involved in. When you are filling out your AAMC AMCAS application for medical school, they do give you enough space for 15 activities, and also you'll have the option of choosing 3 of them to be the most meaningful, where you'll have extra characters to talk more about those experiences. Now the 5th and final tip that I have about getting accepted into medical school is actually about you. It's your diversity. I think a lot of students get tripped up on this idea of diversity because they fixate a lot on just ethnicity or race, but diversity is just so much more than that, and admissions committees really like to see this. Every person has a unique background and a story that goes with it. The most successful medical school applicants not only understand their own diversity, but they understand the importance of diversity as a whole and how collectively it fosters beneficial outcomes for all parties involved. So whether you're an athlete, a musician, a sibling, or maybe you've traveled to 30 different countries, whatever it may be, it is these experiences and what you've done in your life that make you a truly desirable candidate for medical schools. All in all, diversity is so important because it's the one factor that's not quantifiable. It's not like your MCAT or GPA scores or your number of volunteering hours. It is something that makes you truly unique. And I think that when there's just a limited number of medical seats available and admissions committees are forced to decide between this applicant or this applicant, it's going to make a difference between who gets in and who doesn't get in. Because if you are someone that can really contribute to your medical school class in the field of medicine as a whole, you show the people that you're genuine and that you truly have passions outside of medicine and for medicine, I think that makes someone that's very well-rounded. You're going to be a great physician, and that's going to be something that puts you over the top compared to other candidates. Alright, so this brings us to the conclusion of our video today. Thank you for all of you for watching. I hope that I could have provided some helpful and insightful advice for all of you applying to medical school. If you ever have any questions at all, just feel free to drop a comment below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. If you're interested in hearing more about medical school, pre-med, or anything related to that, feel free to subscribe to my channel and I'll be bringing more videos whenever I can. So have a great day and thanks for tuning in.